Hey Melissa, Shelby and I are going to get started on your balance. So I usually just do a quick little overview with Shelby if I've got time, just to sort of put it out there to the universe that this is what we're working on. So, so let's get in, and then hopefully you'll wake up feeling lighter and more energized. That's what I'm putting out there for you. So, okay, asking to access Melissa's higher power. Okay, and to release any and all sabotages that might stop us helping Melissa. Okay, I'm in 100% Melissa's energy. And hold together, hold out, beautiful. Okay, so where to start first? Okay. So we're just going to jump in and check survival stuff initially. Hold. Okay. Hold. Right. So firstly, the adrenals are switched on. That will make you feel tired all the time because it's like the adrenal taps on but nobody's home. Hold. 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 Okay. So actually there's only 1 out of 3, so there's a hidden deep survival pattern and your adrenals going. So probably because you're a mama bear, you know, with the kids at home, no surprise your adrenals are going, but your brain is actually trying to hide your survival stuff from yourself so that you can just get on and keep on keeping on. So yeah, so hidden deep survival is when the nervous system's gone, holy moly, life's going to be stressful forever, which of course with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, that's not at all a surprise. Now we'll just throw in the immune system. Hold. 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 Okay. So all 4 master immune pathways are overloaded, not kicking in as well as they should. Okay, so do we need any EMC, MMC, PVSS? Do we need any more information before kicking into the periventricular survival system? No. So we'll just get in there and start just unraveling some of the survival stuff. And that stress system makes sense because it's about sensory input. So when we're in pain all the time and exhausted all the time, it's hard to shift things. It's hard to get past the feeling in the body because the body just is giving you signs all day, every day. And I'm sure it's probably more of a surprise when you have a good day and you don't feel a lot of pain. And I'm not comparing, but I had a low level fibromyalgia for maybe, to guess, 10 years or something like that, maybe 15 years. It's hard to remember, isn't it? It was a long time, and did a lot of work to help to, shimmy that along. So just simply going into the periventricular survival system. So the ventricles are areas in the brain where a lot of switching happens. So switching's when the brain gets confused and doesn't have the right output for what's going on with the input. But as soon as I even just put it in, your brain went into wanting to run away. But in California, you've had some very strong lockdowns, haven't you? Anyway, so we're going to do subclossal gyrus first. This one will be linked in with your depression. So this little part of the brain, hold, is to do genetically with, is how we cope with rage and anger. And when that internalizes, how it becomes depression. So, and it can be genetic. So this is one of the ones when you see yourself acting in a certain way and you think, oh, gee, that was like mum or dad or grandparents, but it can be going back several generations, up to 7 generations with how we cope. And a lot has happened on the planet in 7 generations, as you can imagine. So depending on our histories, which side of wars we've been on, what conflicts we've been part of, even just moving from one continent to another, depending on, what your history is, this genetic stuff can be quite hardwired in our nervous systems. There's fear, threat, danger in relation to that. Okay. Okay. So the next one showing up is the anterior cingulate gyrus. This is your nervous system picking on you when you're not perfect. So hold. I don't know whether there's many people on the planet who have chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia who don't feel guilt a lot of the time. And if they don't, it's often just because they've suppressed it so much. So with this one, the anterior cingulate gyrus, it can set up it's particular, it's a social one. It's sort of like, it's looking at how we are under pressure socially. And then, have we behaved well enough? Have we said something we shouldn't have? What should I have done in that situation? So, like, for example, if you want to do an hour's housework before anyone comes to your house and then someone turns up at your door, how do you turn? This is a part of the brain that either goes, oh, blow it, I don't give a toss, or holy moly, they're going to see the dust on my floor. So some people are just neutral and don't give a toss, and that'd be lovely. But when we're unwell for a long time, it's hard to get that I don't give a toss energy. Okay, there's another layer of the subclossal gyrus. So, because there's 4 different pathways that can be jammed. This is what happens when I tidy my books. I can't find them. Did you notice they were tidier?
I did, actually. I was looking at that going, oh, would you look at that?
Next thing will be organising the tidy books.
Baby steps.
Next step. Okay. So this is a big one within the subclossal gyrus. It's to do with when the depression is linked to a time in your past when you've had your spirit broken, you're broken-hearted, broken-spirited, you've been tamed. And like instantly I start saying that, I start feeling heavy in the chest. So I think this is an old pattern for you. But yeah, that's very much in that genetic pathway that can be up to that 7 generations. Wanting to run away. Look, let's face it, even just being a single mum alone, there's going to be, some energy there. Having the kids at home all year during a lockdown. I remember one of my sons begged me to homeschool him many, many years ago. And I had this moment of, well, I could do it, but I'd probably kill him. We chose not to. Yeah. So that, actually, let me just ask. Okay, so current 2:30 to 25 to 20 to 15 to 10 to 5 to 0 oh, that's an in-utero pattern. So that's not even you, that's your mum's energy coming through to you, actually. So something happened within her. Actually, let me squeeze. So, no, so something happened within your mum's pregnancy, and once again, because it's in this thing that's up to 7 generations, it might not have even been your mum. It might have been your mum's mum or your mum's mum's mum. But something has happened in the utero, so that from the maybe the bliss point. Okay, actually, let me just ask in relation to fracturing of the bliss point. Hold. Okay. Hold. Yeah, not too bad. 2 out of 5 immune pathways. So that's sort of the bliss point. If you imagine being in the womb and being just like a little hunky-dory group of cells, for a while you're just one with your mother. You don't even know there's a difference between you and your mum. And at some stage there's a, yay, I'm pregnant, or a, holy crap, I'm pregnant moment. And when the bliss point gets fractured, it's usually because of the, holy crap, I'm pregnant, which is usually because of a fear or pain or a past history or something. There'll usually be a reason why, obviously. You know, if women are falling pregnant, then, you know, either they, even some women who have been trying, once they fall pregnant, they're like, holy crap, what's this responsibility I've done? So it doesn't even have to be a bad thing. It can just be fear that's overriding things. Anyway, something going on with the bliss point, which is often around that 6, 7, 8 weeks in utero. Okay, so we've just got to go into the reticular activating system. This is behind the brain stem, and it controls what hormones are released when something new happens in your life. So is this specifically the bliss point, or more in relation to just this deep hidden survival pattern? Okay, so just generally in relation to the deep hidden survival pattern. Your nervous system has decided that life's going to be stressful forever. So it's not only releasing adrenaline, but it's releasing noradrenaline as well. And that's shutting down your serotonin. Now, in relation to both fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue, one of the only drugs that's ever, well, no, I'll say this and then people throw hate at me. So let me just say something. So one of the few drugs that's been helped has been antidepressants. Now, I'm not saying to go on antidepressants, but what's interesting about that is that there is like a calming down inflammation in relation to antidepressants that seems to help people with fibromyalgia. They don't even know why, you know, because I suspect it's more to do with the fact that when your serotonin, dopamine levels are going up, your body feels safer, so therefore the inflammatory stress hormones go down. It's possibly something like that. But there is a drug, well, I don't think we can get it here in Australia, but I listen to functional medicine doctors in the state, and maybe you've tried this, but there's a drug called low-dose naltrexone, and from what I understand, it's a drug that helps people get off street drugs. But in very, and obviously they have different doses, but in people with chronic inflammatory conditions, low-dose naltrexone can really support just quenching inflammation in the body, as can CBD oil in the right combination, with or without TCH. I think that's up to the individual, but you know, there's so many endocannabinoid receptors in the body that can be a thing. That we've got a new product in Australia. I haven't had a lot of success with it. It's called PEA, which supposedly helps the cannabinoid pathways in the body. But I know, you know, I've sort of maybe only prescribed it half a dozen times since I became aware of it, but really haven't had very much success with it. Whereas the people I know on CBD oil, it can just be quite miraculous. Just once again, it's just calming the inflammation down in the body. But check out low-dose naltrexone if you haven't heard of that as well, because it's a different style of drugs to the ones that you have issues with, the morphine and the Vicodin. Okay, there's another layer of the reticular activating system. And hopefully you're aware as well that both chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia are considered autoimmune diseases. So it can be an idea to look at the autoimmune paleo diet if that's within your budget, to sort of look at something like that, because that takes out the big, huge allergenic foods. And you can imagine if your body is so exhausted. What did I hear the other day? They were talking about people with chronic fatigue, you know, when we're so bad that it's hard to get out of bed, it's hard to have the sunshine going, you know, want to lie in a dark room all day, every day. When people are that bad, the comment I heard by someone who does autopsies is that their body is actually really struggling to stay alive. So it's using every amount of cellular energy just to stay alive. So things like D-ribose can be really beneficial as well. And I know, you know, like there's a brand that I order in from the States occasionally called Doctor's Best. Or I just, you know, now we've got suppliers, but for years and years and years we didn't. But D-ribose helps to lengthen the telomeres, you know, so on at the end of our DNA strands. So the length of the telomeres potentially is linked in with better health. And I say potentially because studies don't actually show that. Okay, there's another reticular activating, right? So it's like your whole nervous system is waiting for the next thing to go wrong, because this is the third reticular activating system circuit. Yeah, so this one, it's noradrenaline, so adrenaline, noradrenaline, and these little points either side of the nose are to do with wanting to escape mentally. So it's about going inside and just wanting to hide away. Oh, okay. Right, so the reticular activating system can also control the tightness of the muscles in your body. So I'm going to make Shelby work now. So I'll just get you to tighten all your muscles, fingers, toes, arm, legs, tight, 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 and relax. And again, tight, 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 and relax. Beautiful. So it's the same one as before. Interesting. So once I activated the muscles, it's the noradrenaline switching off serotonin again. So the expectation of long-term stress, that's the noradrenaline switching down your serotonin. I don't know if you do any visualization or meditation, or whether your brain, and maybe your brain just isn't in that spot, but even spending a couple of minutes, you know, a couple of times a day, I'm not talking 15 minutes even, like 1, 2, 3 minutes, and just focusing on something, a powerful, happy, healthy memory that you have, Because what that can do is start getting your unconscious nervous system reminded that that is also you. So your brain is currently tired, exhausted, put on some COVID weight, haha. So, it's sort of about going, okay, where was my happy place? Where was my happy time? Doesn't matter what that is or how old you are. I don't care whether you were 3 or 15 or 25, but it's about finding that little happy place so that you can visualize it and feel it in your body. Like when you visualize it, what did it smell like? Is it sunshine at the beach? Is it a beautiful sunny day sunbathing? Is it walking through a rainforest? Is it, what is it? I was just thinking of the energy of the redwood forests up around San Francisco. Just that amazing sort of nature energy that just is linked in with health and vitality. Okay, so there's a pain and punishment circuit. Okay, so it's the third amygdala point down. When that one shows up, I'm just going to ask a time again. Okay, so is it the same as the bliss point? No. Okay, so current to 35 to 30 to 25 to 20, 20 to 21 to 22, 21 to 22 years old. Okay. Okay. Someone masculine in your life. Okay. Okay, so feeling criticized. You criticizing, feeling criticized, feeling criticized. Yeah, right. Building up a little bit of bitterness. Okay, but whatever that was, it messed with your frontal cortex, so harder to find your way out of that negative energy. And hold out. So the anterior the anterior cortex, it's the frontal cortex to do with problem solving. So even anytime you're feeling stressed, popping your hand on your forehead, running your central meridian. And I used to have one client who would do that and she'd go, serenity now, serenity now, serenity now. Okay, frontal cortex. Hold. Okay, in relation to pain, check that same part of the brain. Hold. Because the same part of the brain, one of the main things that shuts it down is feeling sad, despondent, depressed. Because those, when we're feeling like that, we've got a lack of the serotonin, dopamine. So therefore our brain is often feeling attacked or pressured or stressed or unable to cope. There's a fear in there. So in relation to pain, the brain's in fear of pain, as it would be after so long. Might be an idea to time track when things started. When did the fibro start? When did the chronic fatigue start? Was it after one of the cesareans? Was it after an anesthetic? Was it after a vaccine? Was it after a flight somewhere in the world? Was it after an infection? Was it, when did it sort of kick in? Because quite often people have an idea, but because they've mentioned it to doctors and been, you know, shut down, quite often they just sort of go, oh, well, that must be stupid, I won't ever mention that again. Whereas someone who's a naturopath or a naturally trained person is looking for those little signs and quite often can put the picture together. Okay, but we need to go into that frontal cortex more specifically in relation to sadness, despondency, depression. And hold. Oops. Yeah, so your brain would, so it's escape, submission, freeze in the amygdala. Your brain would rather run away than feeling despondent, but obviously they're like a delightful little loop. Okay, sadness, despondency, depression. And hold. Beautiful. Yeah, right. So the next one showing up, and this probably makes sense even with the weight gain this year, although I know, you know, things have been shut down so much, it's pretty hard to get motivated. So the next thing that's showing up is your hippocampus is like a memory center, and under long-term stress, your hippocampus can shrink. So, for example, in dementia patients, their hippocampus can be as small as only 9% of the size of a whole hippocampus of the size it should be. Now, what's supposed to happen under trauma is that the hippocampus shrinks, and then our survival patterns are supposed to take over because the hippocampus is to do with memory. So if you're about